People who refuse to live by miracle will die sweating.
The kingdom of God is not in grammar, it's in power. The kingdom is a power of substitution, a power of replacement. The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdom of our God and of His Christ.
The moment he died, how was that moment? Can you?
It's like a train hit me, but I didn't cry until about an hour later. My sister was living not far in Buckingham, about an hour and a half from where we lived. So I'm like, oh my God! I said, what am I going to tell my sister? And right there, just like flowing.
It looks like your father's legacy still swallows you.
In every family, in every decade, in every generation, God sends what He calls the one.
In one of your conferences, so we saw you sing, "Who's your guy?" Okay, so I enjoyed this song, but the backlash was crazy. How did you handle it? And do you think your father was a good role model of kingdom wealth? So your father died, and there was nothing in his account.
No, so
27 years later, late Archbishop Benson Idahosa's son, Bishop Feb Idahosa, breaks the silence. He talks about his family, his father's legacy, and the future. In today's podcast, he lays it all out. Join me, Etekamba, on Mindset and Milestones. Welcome, Bishop Faith Emmanuel Benson Idahosa.
Thank you, sir.
Right?
You got it exactly right. It's good to see you, sir. Thank you. Perfect.
I had to rehearse it. I didn't want to. That legacy I don't mess with. Feb Idahosa. God, is this you?
I'm in the flesh.
I'm still overwhelmed, just meeting this amazing man. I mean, so much to talk about. I'm sure people seeing you, questions are flying left, right, center. How are you doing?
Excellent. Good to see you.
How is Nigeria taking care of you?
Nigeria is taking care of all of us, as they tell us so. So we'll make it work. We have no choice.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so how do I start? Because maybe we should start with your father.
Okay.
Because growing up in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, the very first time I heard the name was a big crusade that was about to happen.
Wow.
The posters were everywhere.
Wow.
He raised the dead. He healed the sick. So much. All of us went out to that stadium to witness this man. After a while, guess who came with big agbada? I can remember Lace.
That was his trademark, yes.
Yeah,
always.
Lace agbada, elegance, influence. You can give it words, And that night, my life was never the same again.
Wow,
I was not
really?
even a teenager.
Wow.
I went there with my mom. And years down the line, I saw him on TV screens. I came for more crusades until in my secondary school, I heard about his death.
Okay.
And I'm like, what? Why did he leave so soon? And the questions have been on. Today I'm meeting you, and I'm sure you have so much. Okay, tell me a little about yourself, because
wow.
because it looks like your father's legacy still swallows you, and it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. You are an entity, a man that has your own purpose. God had a plan to bring you to this world, not to put you inside the father's legacy.
Of course, right.
A being. So tell us things people don't know about you. Because anytime they introduce you, is your father's legacy. So can you share a bit?
Well, let me begin by saying, it's having that name as an introduction, or having that name as being part of a legacy, is actually not a bad thing, because, I was talking to someone about what they call the one. And in every family, in every decade, in every generation, God sends what He calls the one. So, for example, maybe in a family where people have been poor for a long time, someone says, this time we're going to break out of it. That person works hard, does everything, makes it, gets a name, and becomes the one. That from then on, family's legacy changes. They have money. In generations, that happens as well too. In our family, and in Nigeria and in Africa, I think God sent Archbishop Idahosa to be the one. And so, of course, then, so he's the one that they say brought light to the dark continent. He's the one that's made put Africa on the map. He's the one that's brought TV ministry to television. He's the one that did so many things. So that the one. So of course, when that name is heard, the legacy, the impact will always be in front of someone, and it's not a bad thing at all. I don't find it as a negative per se. It's something that God used to introduce us, and then from there introduced Africa, introduced so many things. So from there, what do we say next? Our job is to now take that legacy and take it to the next level, to make sure that legacy continues, to make sure that what we started with goes to a second generation and a third generation and a fourth generation. So many things that I'll end with this one. So many African businesses, so many African names and legacies. You hear one person, and after that, by the third is gone. So you don't see any Nigerian businesses.
Third generation, fourth generation.
But if you go to places like the US, you see like a Ford. Ford is over 100 years old.
Yeah.
You see, and they're still there. The family's still there. Things are still working. So it's a good place to start. And so from there, what happens to me next?
Do you think you're under pressure? Because like you're saying, the legacy is supposed to continue. We talked about Ford and many other companies that I'm sure they are in their graves. They can't find the bones if possible. Do you think you're under pressure to continue? Because now, talking ministry, we're seeing father handing over to sons. We see that a lot going on.
Right.
Even though some people are still saying, no, that's not the pattern. But we know that's where it's going. We saw Kenneth Hagin. We saw Copeland. We saw a whole lot of them. It's just been handed. Recently, Bishop T.D. Jakes handing over to the daughter and the son-in-law.
Right.
Do you feel you are under pressure because people expect you to step into your father's shoe and wear those agbada again? But this time around, maybe in a Gen Z way, because people pack stadium. There's a man of God that still packs stadium. So a lot of people still pack stadium. So we can't deny that. But possibly in your own way.
Absolutely.
Do you feel you're under, because you can't just say Ford, they worked. Do you think you're under pressure to live up that legacy?
I wouldn't call it pressure at this point, because let me rewind. When my father passed away, there was that pressure. So I was 25 years old, and I remember, excuse me, I remember coming back from the UK. I was in the UK at the time. Come back to Nigeria, and seeing the things he did. And I used to try so much to be like him, to be him. So I would sometimes wear his clothes, his suits to preach. I would wear, I wear his suits. I would try to talk like him. I put when someone would call on the phone, I knew it was one of his friends, I would say, "Hello, man of God, how are you?" I would change my voice. And I would sometimes take his sermons and just try to copy his sermons. And I used to try. So there was that pressure then, because I was 25 years old then, to try to be him, because I was thinking everyone wanted me to be him. And that whole, you mentioned the phrase, wear his shoes or fit into his shoes. Yeah. And so that was there for a while. And then I remember one day, I was listening to one of his messages. We had these things called cassettes. You might know what but those, you guys don't know what cassettes.
No. Gen Z, people are missing. You used to use Spyro to
twist it. Exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, you know it.
The effort to hear.
Just so we could just hear something. Exactly. So I listened to one of his cassettes, and he said this. He says, "Your job is to motivate, inspire, encourage." And it was as if he was talking to me. Because of course, when people hear him speak, they say, "Oh, why he's talking to me?" But it was as if he was talking to me and telling me that's my job. And so I just thought to myself, that's true. What if that's my job? So I stopped, rewound the cassette, played again and again and again and again.
At what age was that?
I was still 25, because I turned 26 the year he passed away in December. But I remember God spoke to me then and said, "You are not supposed to wear your father's shoes. I will give you your own shoes to wear." And that set me free. That freed me. I said, okay, you can be yourself. I don't have to be him. Because back to what we're saying about the one, there's always going to be the one in a generation the one in a decade, the one in a 40-year span
Century, yeah.
that's sent to do something. And then after that, there's things that spread out from there. So you look at Moses, who was the one that brought them out of Egypt. Joshua was the one who brought them into the promised land. But after that, there were judges, there were kings, there's so many things, and the nation spread. So the pressure to be the next is what you might ask about.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I want to encourage everyone who's watching, you can be the one in your generation. You can be the one in your family. So I can be the one who does what God tells me to do. And then that sets up another cascading set of rules.
Okay, so but how is the ministry? The pressure wasn't so much
Right.
that much because your mom stepped in. I can remember seeing her in that regalia. I'm like, wow, first woman bishop
Right.
in Nigeria, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there are many more
There are
now.
many more now, yes.
You know, and I'm like, and how was it for her that time?
It was. I think it was tough for her as well too. But it was amazing to watch her. That as soon as she would get on the stage and hold a mic, she would turn to a different person. I remember seeing her sad after my father passed. She was sad. She was coming up and saying this, but she would grab the microphone and she would just turn to a different person. She would just start preaching with fire, with excitement, with joy, and people listened. So yes, it was a great thing because my father was the first generation. She was the second generation that took the ministry. And what did she do? Now, her difference was that she didn't just come back and just try to do what he did. My father was a man that was everywhere. He seemed to be able to do everything. So we had a hospital, a school. We had some set of schools. We have the church, a Bible school. My father was somehow everywhere in charge of all of these things. But when she came on board, she said, okay, she took some time off after he passed away. Went to the Bahamas with Dr. Miles Monroe, spent some time there. God spoke to her. She came back and then she just said, okay, let's create boards. So she put boards in place for all of these organizations, and the boards would be the ones that would work.
So she brought in structure to what your father
She brought in
had.
structure.
Your father was the alpha and omega of
Exactly.
those
And it worked for him. It worked for him.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have taken us.
Maybe, do you think he overworked himself? Because I can remember as a young teenager. No. I wasn't a teenager then, you know. And they were, I was a teenager when your father died. And I was hearing that he overworked himself, as in, I'm looking for the right word they used to say.
So
that he was living a life, 100 and something year old life.
In a 60-year-old
body.
Exactly.
So now I understand, because you remember Moses and the father-in-law that,
Right,
Oga,
Jethro.
you don't need to, can you set up structure? So your mother must have understood that this is what took the man away. Or, I don't want to go his way. Let me set up structure. I think that must have been the movie she did.
Well, I don't know if it was from the perspective of that's what took him away, because we don't know what took him away. But I think either way, the point was, she brought in structure, because it worked for him. He was able to do it. He was here, and it was working. But then it got us to a certain point, and to move to the next level, we would not have been able to do that with what we're doing the same way.
Yeah.
So she put boards in place, she put things in place. And these structures were able to take us to grow in a short amount of time, less than 10 years. We went from about 90 schools to 130, 140 schools.
Wow.
We went from one hospital to 4.
Wow.
We even had one in Uyo at one point.
Yeah.
We went from having a university that was just an institute to a fully licensed university. So
all these things was done under your mom's leadership.
Right. So when she was there, we were able to do these things and see growth. And so then when you come now to a third generation, we are looking at saying, okay, how do we maintain the growth? How do we increase the growth? The church is expanded as well too, to different countries, different continents. So there are just all kinds of things. And so now we're learning, what does it take to have a legacy? What does it take to have a 100-year business? So when I say business, now I'm talking about
the structure.
The structure, right? And so we're looking at now our church and our ministry now is almost 60 years old.
Wow.
So that's 60 years.
That's like the oldest church right now in Nigeria.
One of the oldest churches.
Apart from their Assemblies of
Assemblies
God.
and Redeemed, one of those ones.
Yeah. Well, the Catholic, they've always been
They're there for
so I'm talking about the evangelicals,
right.
the Pentecostal movement. So, well, that's great. And
I did a study on that, on churches in Nigeria and how they've grown. And so, yeah, we're one of probably the third oldest, yes.
Wow. Wow.
So.
Shout out to Bishop. You did a great job. We missed you. Well, obviously, I don't know whether you'd have still stayed till now, but your impact still lives. Okay, so let's leave that a bit and let's come to you. So recently, I see a lot of involvement with you and youth. And I'm like, okay, because I'm still, don't blame me, still trying to let go Bishop Benson Idahosa Sr. and the way he used to operate to another bishop, his son. And he's all loving youth, all in youth's face, dress like them, talk like them, but preach Jesus. But tell them that this is the way to go. He's having stuff to do with them. I think there was a talent hunt. I see.
Oh, we do that every year.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of that. How has it been with you?
Oh,
you don't want to get old or something.
So I think my father, let me go back there again. My father was always talking about saying, there was one thing he talked about. He said, if you want to build tomorrow's church, you must work with today's youth. And he was the kind of person that was always, he said, if you want to remain relevant, always try to work with another generation. So he was very relevant. You talk about people that he raised up who are now ministers who are doing all this great work. So he was always working to raise them. And
like people like, do you like to mention names?
People, they talk about him all the time. People like Bishop David Yedipo.
Yedipo was under your father?
No, not under him. He was someone that was, my father mentored him. My father mentored him.
Shout out Bishop.
Yes.
Bishop all the way now.
Oh no, he mentored hundreds of people. But the good thing is that these people that he mentored are telling me now, you know what, your father did this for me. I want to help you do this as well.
This is the first time I'm hearing that your father mentored Bishop. I know that you're close to Bishop. I know you're close to Bishop Beautiful, but this is the alleged words now on the street, but this is coming from you. I think is authentic and nice.
Well, no, you'll hear him talk about it. If he talks about it in his sermons.
Okay.
Pastor Chris.
Kilome
will mention him once in a while in my messages and say, "Oh yeah, Bishop Idahosa did this, did this," and he's not telling stories that's just stories, but he's actually telling you that things that he saw.
Do you think? Sorry for breaking.
No,
do you think many pastors are not really mentoring people today? Do you think it's like everybody's just building their empires and they're not looking at kingdom, and regardless of where you're from, regardless of what type of ministry you want to run, do you think many pastors are just building empires for themselves and they're not really impacting so much on people like your father did?
I think there are very few who are doing that now.
Okay.
But most people are just sort of trying to build their own. Bishop Yedipo will have these conferences where he invites all of these great men of God to come and just listen and to learn from him.
Okay.
Because when you realize that life is not about prosperity, but posterity.
Posterity, yeah.
Then it changes your perspective and says, you know what, I won't be here forever, so let me pass on what I have so that people can continue what we do. So there's a lot of things like that. And I think what has helped me in my thoughts for the next generation is working with that.
So taking us back again to youth.
Right,
so what has been
absolutely.
going on with young people?
Yeah, so what with us with young people, one of my things I believe in is the same thing. I always believe in looking for the next generation of leadership. I've never said that I am the next generation, but how do you find the next generation? You hear people say things like this, that everything you are looking for is on the other side of you helping other people get what they want. So if you're trying to become better at something, help somebody become better at it. And in doing that, you'll become better. If you want to become known, help someone else become known. Help someone else get stronger. If you want to play football, I want to get better at playing football. Why don't I call some young people together? Let me teach you how to play football. Automatically, I have people that can train with me. And they will always see me as relevant because I'm helping them.
Okay.
And so if you do that as well too, that's why I look at it and say, okay, so what can I do for the next generation? How can I help the next generation? So we're doing things with youth, young people, helping them with talent. We have something that we call Fast Forward Global.
Okay.
So last year we tried to give $1,000 to 40 young people to say, how can they start a business? How can they start something that will help them last?
That's good.
So how can we fast forward you into your future? Now we're doing cybersecurity. We want to fast forward them into a future in security. So there's all kinds of things that we're doing behind the scenes to make sure that this next generation of Nigerians is better than we were.
Wow. Okay, Bishop. Talking about you recently in one of your conferences, so we saw you sing, "Who's Your Guy?" Okay, so I enjoyed this song, but the backlash was crazy. How did you handle it? And do you think people can just sing? Because I mean, a particular minister came and talked about that the individuals involved. Why will a bishop sing that kind of song? Because of the people that were singing the song, they are very ungodly. That in fact he had to do a research on their lives. Now, and you know that young people are music. I mean, growing up as a young Christian, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I did try. I'm a Christian. You know, as a Christian, you don't sing certain songs. You don't even near them. You know, recently I went somewhere with a friend to just wait for somebody, and we're eating, and I'm seeing that entertainment has changed because I barely go out. My friends have been telling me, come out, because I'm very busy having so many things we put out there. So, and I'm like, in this setup, and the kind of entertainment that I'm seeing is not what I used to see the last time I went out. Right. So how will you handle this in terms of Christianity, young Christianity with music?
Right.
Because now it's easy for all of us listening to secular music, and it's not okay. Do you understand? But then he was like, you're listening to Wally's song. Where do you draw the line? How do we call it Wally? And the one you sang, are you sure it wasn't Wally?
Okay. There's multiple parts of that question. That question is very multifaceted. So where do we start? Let's begin with the sacred and the secular. Yeah. Okay. So what we call the sacred is this is what God says. Yeah. And this is secular. This is what the devil says, or it's not that. But think about it. What did the devil create? What did God create? The devil has never created anything. Okay, what he will do is take what God has created, and I don't want to use the word bastardize, but he will stain it, twist it, and put it for his purposes. Okay, but the truth is, God made music. Okay, everything that God did, God said this is good. So you think about the things we look at. Nothing in itself is bad. What God made it is good. But when they twist it, it starts being used for their purposes. Yeah. So let's go back to that. So let's go back to the sacred and the secular. There's really nothing that's really secular, nothing that's really sacred. Everything is what God made. So now what do you do with it? So I can take music, the same music that someone would look at and say, wow, look at this. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. We twist it and then it sounds funny. How do you now say that what God has made is bad? What God has made is good. You just need to make sure that what you do with it brings back glory to God. Okay, so that's this beginning. That there's nothing really sacred, nothing really secular. Everything is what God has made. So for me as a Christian, I have to say, what did God make? He used what he made to reach us. There was a time when people said the television, oh my God, it's the devil's box. It was the devil's box then. Now it's God's box. Because see, you can't call it, so is it really secular? No, it's God. God gave us the mind to create it. Yeah. Okay? So there was time people call TV devil's box, but then we go on TV and we use the same thing to preach the gospel. Is it now, all of a sudden now God's box? It's just television. Yeah. What do you use it for? The same thing, everyone carries a phone in their hands now, okay? That same phone can be a tool for social media, can be a tool where I can preach the gospel, can also be a tool that you can watch pornography and all kinds of things on. Yeah. So the phone is not bad itself. It's what you do with it. Okay.
So the song wasn't bad.
Right. So let's go to the song now. Yeah. Okay. So I've never addressed this before, but I wish that the gentleman had listened to the sermon. He didn't do that. This is the problem with this generation.
He said it took time that he had to really listen.
He didn't, because if you listen to the sermon was actually about drawing people to Christ. So here's what happened, okay? The sermon was this, that at the cross of Calvary, Jesus Christ is there dying, and there's two thieves, okay? So he turns to one thief and says, today you'll be with me in paradise. So the thief gets to heaven, okay? And St. Peter, or whoever is at the gate says, what are you doing here? He says, that guy told me to come. Which guy? That guy. It's okay, what do you know about sanctification? I don't know anything. What do you know about justification? I don't know anything about that. What do you know about the sacredness of God and all of these different things.
The depths, the portal.
The portals, yes. To raise you up to dimensions, the seventh heavens. God says, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
That guy told me to come. Which guy? That guy. Oh, you mean that guy on the cross there? Yes. Who's that guy? Is he your guy? Yes, he's my guy. He said I should come. So now the point of the message was this, that you don't have to know anything to come to Jesus.
Yeah.
Just believe in him. Accept him as your savior and you will go to heaven. That was the message. So they said, which guy? That guy. Who's that guy?
Who's your
guy? So which guy? You mean that guy? Who's the guy? That guy. Is he your guy? Said, oh, it's my guy. Who's your guy? Oh, then guy said, now let me. So all the young people there, they understood
were so happy.
the song.
I mean, they were very happy.
They were
except
happy because
the people that watched the video.
Right, but they were happy because it made sense.
Yeah.
So it was a message about Christ.
Yeah.
And so the song makes sense. So I'm taking something that you call secular.
Yeah.
Using it to help you understand Christ.
It was a young gathering. I mean, music is very key. It was a young gathering. Music is key. And there's no way you could have reached them better than, I enjoyed the whole thing. When it went viral, like, oh, wow. We didn't even meet then, I'm like, wow, this guy is interesting. I need to pay attention to him.
But let me take it back. Okay, so here's what happens.
Okay.
So Paul goes to a city.
Yeah.
And he sees an inscription that says, to an unknown God.
Yeah. And
so he takes this unknown God, says, this unknown God you're talking about, let me tell you about him. He takes what they know and uses that to introduce Christ to them. This is the Bible. This is not something I made up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm taking what people know, using that to introduce Christ to them. But you are now saying, because it doesn't fit into your religious mindset, you want to now say, hey, look at it. He's singing a song that's not a Christian song. If you listen to the message.
Yeah.
So I can imagine Paul in today's social media. Yeah. Someone takes a clip and says, this your unknown God is the God we serve. Hey, God, blasphemy, Ahithophel. Hey. You would come and you would say that was wrong because all you saw was a clip.
Your father was always a disruptor. I can remember a generation whereby people were not wearing trousers.
Exactly.
And he came, people were not, hair were always covered in the churches. I think, for ladies, you have to cover your hair.
Right.
And then he came in and on TV, women didn't cover their hair.
Let me tell you.
So are you following that disruption pattern? Because that's what your father
every
did.
generation has to do that. So let me tell you one that he did. We have music in church. We have the bass guitars, all these things.
Yeah.
He was the first church
to have all this music.
Introduced music.
Really?
And now, it's the first time. There was no church.
So we used to clap. Oh yeah, Assemblies of God used to clap hands.
That's it. You can't have instruments in church. What? Are you mad? That's the devil's tool. You're playing what they play in Obito. You're bringing to church.
Oh, but secular people were already using the equipment.
If you go to an obituary,
they'll play. When you die, that's what they play.
Okay. You go to a club, they play guitar, they use drums.
Yeah.
And so he brought those into church. Oh my God!
Wow, I didn't know about this.
Let me tell you another
disruptor.
one. It's disruptor. So, but now today it's in every church. I went to a Catholic church the other day, and they were playing bass. They were singing liturgies.
Yeah.
And they had a bass playing. I'm like, okay, I can enjoy this now.
Yeah. I think things are changing.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you another one that he did. It's in his book, Fire in His Bones. He bought a motorcycle. Great book. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Please go get that book again. Fire in His Bone. That book, everybody. Is there any way you can revamp it and make it get
We've done that. We'll make sure we release it again.
Yeah, because it's a book that because right now people are turning back to revival. I'm sure that's why probably the pastor was talking about we have to go back to God, but it might not take the dimension that they think, because God is not, you can't box God and his ways. I'm now sounding like a bishop. It's just because I'm sitting with a bishop.
I'm clapping for you.
I'm not going to start church. So people are going back to revival and they feel it's becoming too extreme. So what will you think about this now? Do you think we are going so far?
So let me tell you this. So what happens is over generations, the method which the gospel is preached must change. It has to change. But the packaging will change, but the content must stay the same.
Is Jesus the same yesterday?
Same yesterday, today, forever, always. Yeah. So 50 years ago, you could go on the street, put a drum here, put a drum here, put a drum here and a drum here, put a plank on top of it, start shouting, only Jesus can save. A crowd will gather, you preach, they will rush, come give their lives to Christ.
Yeah.
You can't do that now. They look at you like, there's that man, is he mad? What's wrong with him? But things change. So the point is the packaging changes over time, but the message has to absolutely stay the same.
Yeah. Okay, this brings me to the next question. So one of your father's sermon, because lately it's been going viral and so on and so forth. I don't know, you guys keep pumping out the messages. And he said, if you look at me, I am prosperity.
Correct.
You can't differentiate me and prosperity. With his Agbada, as of that time, the Agbada was worn strictly by the politician. And this is a pastor, a bishop, wearing Agbada. But if I preach a message that is not in the Bible, walk out of
exactly.
my service.
He would say, follow me as I follow Christ.
Yeah.
The day I stop following Christ, stop following me.
So do you think some pastors have not still attained the level of wealth your father had? Because I know your father's net worth, if social media needs to analyze, your father, I'm sure, because the man he preached prosperity. He preached a Jesus that came for us to prosper and be in health, right? Mm-hmm. So do you think his net worth then, because I mean, people have never brought out, maybe we should probe your family. Because he came up with this and some of us started loving good things.
Right.
Pastors started believing God for 1,005. That's what it was back then. 1,500, which is now does not even do anything again. Do you think your father was a good role model of kingdom wealth?
Absolutely. Now, the thing about him that I love was this. People say, oh, he was so rich. But the truth is, when he passed away, the monies in accounts were not anything to write home about. Here's what I'm talking about. Everything he had, he put back into the kingdom.
So there was no money in his account when he died?
Not like that. Not the kind of, not what people are thinking was there. I can tell you that for free. Because everything he had to put into the kingdom.
So your father died, and there was nothing in his account?
No, so here's what I think. Because he talked about how everything he had put into the kingdom. And we know this for sure because we saw that. Now, but God always took care of us. We were never in lack, never in want. My father said that God told him to give 90% of his income as tithe. Okay, people talk about tithe as 10%. He said God told him to give 90%. He said, God, I can't give you 90%. And he said, God told him, if I don't give you 10, don't give me 9. So, in other words, the 10 that I give to you and you give me 9, that 10 that's left will be enough to take care of you, your children, your children's children. And that's true.
You look well taken care of.
Well, that God has helped us. and I don't have any shame in that because I believe that God definitely does open the door for you day by day by day. He takes care of everything. He takes care of his children. Okay. So I'm not ashamed at all. I'm very, very happy that my father did that because I know what he did. All that we had, he put into the kingdom. He put into the university, put into the church, put into everything he did. And I'm being blessed today because of seeing what he started. Okay. And we move on from there. Yeah.
Okay. The last but not the least, still on your father, the moment he died. How was that moment? Can you just...
I was in medical school. So I'm in class. I finished class. I go to the payphone, which we have to have a payphone. I put money inside the payphone. You don't know what a payphone is. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Put money inside the payphone. You might enjoy it. I dialed the number. Hello, Bishop Reed. Bishop Reed is a bishop friend of my father that was in the UK.
Okay.
So I was living in, we were in this church, living in the same city with him.
Okay.
He says, Feb, come on, I want to talk to you. Okay, no problem. I said, okay, I've finished class in about an hour. He said, no, just come now. I said, okay, no problem. So I left class, entered the train, drove the train for 1 hour, got to his house. He said, Feb, sit down. I said, what's going on? Sit down. This is bad news, good news. What's going on? Yeah. Sit down. I'm okay, Bishop, talk to me. What's going on? Yeah. So your father died this afternoon. Nobody told me to sit down again. I look for a chair. Let me sit down.
You have to be humble at that point, man, because processing that can be very heavy. For someone that was very vibrant.
We never thought he would die. We thought Christ would come back, carry him first, and all of us would follow.
Absolutely, right. Because that's how, even me too, that wasn't his direct son. I used to think that way.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the day. I think that one just kind of it's like a train hit me. But I didn't cry. Until about an hour later, my sister was living not far in Buckingham, about an hour and a half from where we lived. So I'm like, oh my God. I said, what am I going to tell my sister? And right there,
Yes, king
Just
of,
started flowing. Like, wow. Okay. So I said, okay, Ruth. So I pick up the phone call. I said, Ruth, I'm coming to come and see you. Like, why? It's 11 at night. Why come to see me? I said, I'm coming. So I dropped the phone. I entered the car with Bishop Reed. We drove to a house. She opened the door. Daddy has died, Abby.
How?
I said, how do you know?
They
said there's no reason why you call me at this kind of night.
Was he expecting your father? Was she
No, she
expecting
was
your
not expecting
father?
at all. But she's just like, okay, I thought it's an hour drive.
Yeah.
So in her mind's thinking, okay, why is
are
he
they
coming here
here?
at this time of the night? Come and tell me they want to see me for
Was he
what?
always sounding like I would die soon for her to say that he has died?
No, he never really did that. It was only when we go back now we see things like he preached a message about a year before he died called The Benefit of Death.
Wow.
Talked about how, okay, there's benefit in death, that you, when you leave here, you're with God.
Yeah.
The benefits that come with leaving this earth. He preached that. Talks about things like, one day I won't be here anymore. So let me tell you about the day he died. Okay, so the day he died was a Thursday. I remember that very well. Thursday, March the 12th. I was in class. So that Thursday morning, he got up. He went to morning prayer by 6 o'clock in the morning. They had morning prayer service. He went to morning prayer, did the morning prayer. From there, he went to the university sites. So he saw the university site, told them, okay, do this, do that, do that.
Okay, they were building the university.
They're building the university. Yeah, that's Benson Idahosa University, right?
Yeah.
They're building it back then. So he went to the sites, gave some instructions, did that. He went to the hospital, talked to them there, said, okay, how you guys doing? Checked a few things. I talked about a few things. So he went there. Then from there, he went to the Bible school.
Yeah.
And he preached to the students there at the Bible school, talked to them about many, many different things. Then from there, he went to church. We're having the Women's Thursday prayer. And he told the women there, said, okay, look, women, it's your turn next. It's your turn next. It's your turn next. Say it's my turn. I'm next. Okay, finished. Then, so before he left the office that day, he told this guy, say, I'm going home today. Yeah, so you always go home. So I'm going home today. This is around.
He said that he's going home.
I'm going home today. So they were thinking, okay, I'm going home to my house. Okay.
Yeah.
Then he left the office. So they left. Okay. So he passed through the school, saw the children in the school, waited all the children. Basically, he went through every single thing that he started that day.
For you guys to continue.
For us. So he went through every single one.
He was giving his last blessing.
We had no idea.
Okay.
Then he gets home and he has some guests from the U.S., Dr. Don Petrie, Dr. Jernigan, a few people from Oregon University.
Yeah, I know that.
And so he's talking to them about different things. And he says to them, you know what? They had this drink called Pure Heaven. It's still here. He goes, this drink, you like it? Or one taste from this?
Pure Heaven, that should be a brand.
It's a brand.
A very big brand. We should invest in that brand. The last thing Bishop drank before he died.
But here's the thing about that. So
Yeah.
I don't want to drink it now. He said, one taste from this, you go straight to heaven. Everybody laughed.
Yeah.
So he got up, served everybody from Pure Heaven. He served, so he used to always serve people. So he carried the food, served everybody on the table. Then he called two guys.
He must have been a very humble man.
Oh, he was.
But we didn't perceive him that humble. He looked very arrogant.
People say that. But that's because he knew who he was. He knew who the God inside of him.
So the God emboldened him.
Exactly. He was bold. People say, this guy is too bold. What kind of boldness he has? He would go to church and say, all of you sit down, close the doors. Nobody's leaving the church today. We're going to preach. So how? He was very bold. Anyway, so then he did that. So then he called 3 guys to the room, so the next living room. And then he says, okay, this is a plan for the university. So he said, okay, please, when I go, I want you to help me do this. Dawn, help me make sure you do this. Jernigan, do this. So this is them telling me what he said that day. And then he said he just sat down on the chair and he just put his head down.
That was the end.
And he was gone. So they were, Benson, are you okay? Benson. So they rushed. So the one guy rushed over to where he was. He knows CPR. So he said, okay, he's not breathing. So he puts him on the ground, starts doing CPR.
When we heard he's dead, some of us started praying for him to come back to life.
I think we all did. We all did.
I don't know.
We all prayed for him to come back to life. So the guy did CPR, breathing into his mouth, nothing happened. And then so they rushed to pick up the phone, call hospital, they sent doctors over, but he was gone.
Wow.
But it was just peaceful. It wasn't like anything bad. But the thing is, he had stopped by everywhere, said a few words, and then he was just gone like that.
Wow, at this point, I can say once again, adieu, Papa. Legacy lives. Thank you, Bishop. It's been an amazing moment. As in, so much to say again, but maybe some other time, maybe a season two of this conversation. But thank you so much. You're a very busy man. You can imagine the time we had to do this recording. Thank you. I look forward to doing more with your team, with young people, and probably train them. And I mean, there's so much to give. Thank you for being
My
a role
pleasure.
model for some of us.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. God
It's an
bless you,
honor.
sir. Thank you.